Hello and welcome to my self-compassion series. I'm going to be releasing a series of videos on a weekly basis to provide you with tools and strategies to support yourself in a compassionate way. This is a really, as overused as that word is, empowering process, and I'm quite excited about it because a lot of the people that I have been working with have been really struggling with a lot of negative self-talk. I know for myself personally, I wish that I learned a lot of these tools when I was much younger, but it's a real issue. It can be incredibly limiting, like self-limiting, unconsciously limiting, to kind of let our inner critic rule, our lives. Do you feel like you have an inner critical voice? And if so, like most of us do, how much of a tyrant is it really? Something to consider. So this video is going to be a little bit longer than the others. The others will just be a few minutes, each talking about one specific tool at a time that you can take away and work with over the course of your week to build your practice, because that's what self-compassion is. It's really a practice. And when we're able to focus on it as a process, as like a life journey, if you will, rather than something that you get to like an outcome of like, great, now I'm self-compassionate all the time. It's not the way it works, unfortunately, even with self-compassion gurus like Kristen Neff, who wrote the book Self-Compassion. It's still something that pops up, now and again, at least, but life can be a lot easier with learning these tools. So, yeah, I'm doing it in response to popular demands and requests, in running a free support group for coping during COVID or challenging times, and supporting people in managing stress and allowing people the space to kind of support one another mutually. I've noticed that this theme continues to come up time and again around the relationships that we have to ourselves, essentially, and how to strengthen them and how to make them more friendly and kind and encouraging, which is something that actually really counterintuitively we can feel fearful about letting go of our inner critics. So for a lot of people, it feels like without anxiety, not only what would I be, like who would I be, what would I do, it's like our anxieties become this driving force in our lives. Our inner critics are there to help us out, to try to, make us be the best version of ourselves. And initially in our lives, there is a purpose for them. They might have helped keep us safe when we were younger, in social situations when we try to people please and be perceived as nicer, and then we make friends and feel a sense of belonging. But the inner critic can also become, like I said, like quite the tyrant, like many of you can relate to, analyzing social situations, like, why did I say this? Like, put my foot in my mouth, I'm such a piece of shit, all of that stuff. It's stuff that we develop over time. They're messages that we internalize from the world around us. Self-criticism is not something that we are born with. There are no babies that are thinking like, oh damn, I shit myself, my parents are going to be so disappointed or inconvenienced, like I'm a piece of shit, like there's nothing like that. It's something that we definitely develop as we go, and it's something that we can unlearn as well. And again, it's not an easy process, like unwinding some of the grip that our inner critic might have on our psyches, but part of my toolbox that I'm going to give to you through this series is supporting you in recognizing that thought process is separate from yourself. So often we buy into this idea that our thoughts are us, like if you are in a situation at work and you feel like you said the wrong thing, or you blurted something out that felt embarrassing in front of your boss or a colleague. There's a number of ways that you can respond to it, but oftentimes our immediate thoughts are, negative toward ourselves. Like, think about the last time that you feel like you messed up or made a mistake. What kind of thoughts did you have in that moment? Were they kind? Oftentimes the answer is no, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're wrong or bad, or that there's something wrong with you necessarily. I mean, a lot of people do relate to like social anxiety and feeling taken over by the inner critic in a way that is problematic. And so whether or not you're at that, stage of like either recognition or feeling like it's a big problem in your life, most of us, almost all of us, can benefit from some of these tools. So to bust some of the myths about self-compassion, I think that sometimes people think we are being self-indulgent by, focusing on ourselves, that we're being selfish by focusing on ourselves. But really the truth of the matter is it's a radical act of self-preservation to take care of ourselves in a kind way, to speak to ourselves as though we were speaking to a friend who we care about, who we like, who we want to succeed. Imagine that. Imagine for a moment being able to shift that kind of talk to your internal system. So yeah, we'll be going through some of the psychoeducational elements of like why some of these thoughts are here in this process. And also just looking at the tools specifically for how to separate ourselves from our inner critic and develop and foster a kinder, more compassionate part of ourselves, like to strengthen those neural pathways essentially, to be more kind of effective in the world, better relating to ourselves, more happy, more content, more relaxed. And it does in a way go very against our wiring, in the sense that as human beings, we are wired to perceive more negative in the world. It served us really well evolutionarily to, remember viscerally, like the berries that made us feel sick that time so that we don't eat them and die again. Like that kind of thing would stand out way more than say like a neighbor or somebody like waving at you in a friendly way that made you feel warm and kind of like connected and have a sense of belonging. Like that's all very nice and good, but like you're gonna remember those icky berries way more than you're gonna remember like that moment of good. So there is like definitely rewiring that goes into this process, but every time that you practice, you are strengthening those neural pathways. Every time that you practice challenging a critical thought, like maybe it's not so problematic, that thing that I said at the meeting, like maybe probably nobody else really remembers it. We do tend to be the hardest on ourselves. So with all of that being said, I hope that you enjoyed the series, and if you have any questions or want to join my free support group that's running this summer 2020, feel free to reach out. You can connect with me on relationshipwell.com or through my Facebook page, Relationship Well Counseling. And I am very much looking forward to chatting self-compassion with you. And perhaps between now and next week, you can just take a look at some of the thoughts that come up for you whenever you do feel like you've made a mistake, or just during your day-to-day. And ideally not with so much judgment or like, wrist slapping or whatever. Just notice, because that is the first step in raising awareness about what kind of thoughts you're having before we work towards separating that out from who you are and what you're capable of thinking and doing, and ultimately how you're capable of functioning in the world with a lot more love, both like externally, but especially and in a way most nourishingly like internally to start. Okay, take gentle care.